everyone, this is Michelle Fixit. This video is going to be how to properly manage and how to go through navigating the healthcare system when you haven't really been doing it. So I try to make myself available to individuals if they need a resource. And so there's a lot of anxiety for a lot of people with medical issues and things like that. And there's a lot of, it's either like you don't want to go to doctors or you go to doctors all the time, or you don't really know a lot about the medical system, or you know way too much. And so there's a lot of division with trying to seek care. And so I'm making a kind of tutorial of sorts of how to start navigating the medical system for your physical health. I know that mental health is a huge thing right now, and I don't begrudge that at all, but I also am a huge advocate in saying that sometimes physical issues can cause mental health issues. I say that quite frequently. So let's say, for instance, that you are a person that has not been going to the doctor for preventative care or maintenance or anything like that, or maybe you just go in for an annual checkup and that's pretty much all you do. How do you really know what's going on with your body? Well, your first steps that you would want to do is book appointments with your primary care and get your routine blood work done. I have recently found out that when you're in the Medicare system, that sometimes they only cover blood work, every other year, every 3 years. I've heard mixed opinions on that. And so one thing that a lot of people don't know, that don't really go frequently to the doctor, don't really know how to advocate for themselves, is that if you have a chief complaint of something has changed, or you have pain, or something like that, then you can insist on saying, you know what, I don't know what happened, but within the, past, and they want it to be over 6 to 8 weeks, because, you can have some type of light illness or cold or, something like that. So I've been feeling really terrible for the, over 6 to 8 weeks. And saying that should necessitate getting your blood work covered if you have, Medicare, Medicaid, something like that, because that is a new issue. And that makes it where the insurance companies kind of have to cover that as, there's something going on here. So you want to schedule, a normal annual checkup with a general practitioner or whoever your primary care manager is. And you have a chief complaint that you are now experiencing headaches or abdominal pain or whatever your thing is, and onset 6 to 8 weeks ago, and not improving, symptoms getting worse, and so you can get a full metabolic panel done that way. After you have that done, if you've been a chronic smoker, for instance, then your chest is really starting to bother you. That should necessitate a CT or an MRI. Because again, if there's a pain issue, then insurance companies typically have to cover a pain issue. If it's just, hey, I've been a smoker for 30 years and I've never had any imaging done of my chest, and I'm worried that I might have nodules in my lungs or something like that. A lot of the times, based off of age, they're not going to give you imaging for that. Or say you have symptoms that could be IBS or a gastro issue or something like that. Hey, I'm having a lot of pain in my lower abdominal area. That would typically necessitate getting some type of imaging done for the lower abdomen. So, chest, because you have chest pain, and so they want to go ahead and check to see if you have any nodules, and then we check our lower area, because just because you don't have issues going on that you're really noticing, it doesn't mean that you can have things that are brewing that are becoming bigger and bigger issues, because a lot of people don't realize, okay, well, if I'm exhibiting being tired or fatigued. They're like, oh, I'm getting older. Until you meet older people that are taking proper care of themselves, with properly managing their health care or their lifestyle choices, or also having great genetics, like pick a combination. Our healthcare system in the United States is mainly reactive care. While doctors really want to do preventative care, they like to say that the gatekeepers of what they can do are the insurance companies, because patients are not going to be paying out of pocket for all of this stuff. I mean, the times that we're living in, it's not something that works well for the common person out there. But if you have pain, or you're stating that you have pain in different areas, then you can help the doctors be able to say, hey, this is something that needs to happen, because otherwise, we're going to be battling it out with something big and catastrophic. So these are things that, like, you really just need to say. You need to be able to really find out what's going on with your body, because sometimes your chronic fatigue that you associate with getting older could be your thyroid. It could be your adrenal glands, it could be your kidneys, it could be a number of things. And maybe, just maybe, your adrenal glands or your kidneys have some type of tumors, or maybe you have, nodules, or, a mass or something like that. And you won't know about it or find out about it until all of a sudden it's, either overtaken an organ, or it could be a cancerous thing, and then like it metastasizes, and by the time that like you really start experiencing those symptoms, you're looking at stage 3 or stage 4 cancer, because it's metastasized to another part of your body. And that's a situation that you don't want to be in, because a lot of things give very small conflicting symptoms that are often dismissed by your lifestyle, your level of activity or lack of activity, or you're trying not to make a big deal about it because you're a rough and tumble kind of person, and you just go with the flow, and you're really strong. And so you're thinking about like your muscular ability versus like what's going on inside your abdomen, plus or minus your head. Paying attention, getting a brain scan every so often. You can really learn what's going on and read your reports. So if you are starting to realize that you are worried that maybe eventually you'll have Alzheimer's or dementia, because you're slowly starting to get some memory issues, and you're like, it could be that I'm getting older, it could be that like maybe I might have something going on, but you're nervous about saying that out loud because other people around you might judge you, or think less of you, or whatever that level of anxiety is that you may or may not talk about with other people. You're having headaches. You could be having headaches, and you're having headaches that just all of a sudden started up. They're worsening in condition, and that way you can get some coverage on, because nobody's inside your head. So, if you're having headaches, or you think you're having headaches, and you vocalize that headache, no one can disprove or prove that you are or not having headaches within your body, just like no one can prove or disprove that you are having pain in your chest or in your lower abdomen. That is something that you and your body, as one, know that you can vocalize to others without starting to worry about all of these ramifications or consequences, by saying, you know what, my word recall is starting to go away, and sometimes I feel lightheaded, or I'm blowing up for no reason, or I'm getting really tired, and when I'm really tired, I still have things that I have to do, and so now I'm getting short with people, and people think I'm a jerk and a grumpy person. And it's like, you have headaches. If you have headaches, you can get imaging, because maybe it's that, your cerebellum or your cerebellar tonsils are starting to descend. Maybe it's that, you've got a little bit extra fluid on your brain, and so that's starting to like really create some tension there. Maybe it's that you have, you had some type of trauma at some point, and so you've had a slow cerebral spinal leak that, most people think cerebral spinal leaks have to be massively traumatic and you're just gushing out from your ears or your nose. But, you can have teeny tiny problems that create a huge problem later on. And the best way to equate that is if you have a house and you have a crawl space, just a small crawl space, and your kitchen sink is dripping and you're not paying attention, like you don't go under there very often, you've got like chemicals and trash bags and everything else, and it's such a little teeny tiny leak that like it's just drip, drip, drip. And so if somebody saw that, if it's a drip, once an hour, if it's a drip every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, it's nothing to worry about, right? So what happens if it drips for years? Eventually, you're going to go under the cabinet and it's going to be rotted in the cabinet. And then because that moisture doesn't just stay in the cabinet, it's going to go to your subfloor. And so if you're able to crawl into your crawl space and look up, you'd see, hey, I've got some wood rot going on right now. Like this is a big problem. And then you have a mold problem, and you're probably going to have an issue with either insects or rodents, because now you have like a moisture intrusion. There's, moss or mold or mildew or whatever growing, so it's attracting all of these different things. And then maybe a field mouse comes in one day, or maybe it's that like you have termites come in, or you get a brown recluse spider. Because of that little bitty drip that you didn't know was going on, it creates an issue with your cabinet. So you had to either replace the base of the cabinet or replace the cabinet completely. Now you have to worry about your subfloor. Now you have to worry about whatever mold or issues that have happened in your crawl space. Like sometimes we can't see things or we don't notice them because they're so minimal that it's not there. You just don't see it until it becomes a big problem. And your physical health is one of those things where we can easily say, my shoulder really hurts because I did that thing to it that a while back ago. But then when we go to, if you actually go to an orthopedic specialist, they're like, you've got some things, but not for the level of discomfort that you're talking about. That might be a neuro problem. You might have something going on with your spine. And like, if you're not asking these questions and you're already hesitant about going to the doctor, then you're not going to get to that point. And that's one of those things that I've just kind of learned along my personal journey, because I am currently going through a spinal CSF leak adventure of sorts, where I was having headaches. I really thought internally that one day I would be diagnosed with MS because I was having issues with walking at different times. My migraines were getting really bad. I was having speech issues. I was having recall issues. Some days I wasn't good to drive. And there was an intense fear that if I vocalized all of the issues and ailments that I had going on, that would hinder my ability to caretake my children. Because I knew when I was good or I wasn't good to be able to properly care for them or drive around or do things that like most people just don't think about doing. I knew when I was having those issues. And so I developed coping mechanisms to kind of cover up when I was having those issues. And then I had trusted people that it's like, hey, I know I have to lay down, or I know that I can't do anything tomorrow because I'm going to have a migraine, because I know what's going on. And I never in a million years would have thought that it was because I had a spinal CSF leak. And even still, as someone that is currently going through treatment for that, when I tell doctors, along the way, if I'm helping caretake someone on their medical adventure or their medical care, the doctors look at me sideways, because the doctors that are on the ground, the normal, regular doctors that everybody sees every day, they're not keeping up with the people that only focus on this as a core issue that really is being misdiagnosed as other things and really is impacting a lot of women, but also some men. So that kind of bothers me. So that's something that's like a little bit more unique, even though I think in the future it's not going to be as unique of a problem. I think it's going to be far more widespread, and people are going to be like, why is everyone leaking now? They've been just coping with it and being judged because they're grumpy. So moving back over to trying to properly manage your health care. So if you are having some type of cognition issues, if you are comfortable enough with your body to sit there and say that and not have anyone poke at you or make fun of you or act like, you're deficient or you're going to end up in, an assisted living facility or something like that, or that like you must have early dementia or Alzheimer's and you're worried about any of that kind of stuff, you have headaches. No one except for you know if you have headaches or not. And so if you have headaches, you can tell your doctor that you're having headaches, and that is a perfectly legitimate reason that is not arguable, not debatable, that only you know the intensity of your headaches and the frequency of your headaches to be able to get imaging done of your brain to see if you actually have something going on in your brain. Because sometimes if these things are going on, you might worry like, oh, I'm going to end up with a brain tumor or something like that, or brain cancer, something big and scary. And so then it's like, you would rather not know and have it just take you out, which I've heard so much, which drives me, oh, it's a very upsetting logic. But what if it's that you don't have enough cerebrospinal fluid, which is basically the fluid that your brain is supposed to be in? So your brain, and then the fluid that surrounds your brain, and then the dura. So if you have too little of it, it can create serious issues with cognition and ability to walk and this, and it can mimic other conditions. And also, for some reason, some people can slowly build up too much pressure, and then it puts so much pressure on your brain that it creates issues other places. I'm really excited and happy for someone that actually had an older parent that luckily, because this could have ended so poorly, luckily was getting hydrocephalus and was exhibiting enough symptoms with the hydrocephalus that somehow they had a doctor that actually was able to say, you know what, let's do some imaging, because the person was flaring out and having these different ailments and was showing signs that they were in dementia or Alzheimer's, and that very easily could have been misdiagnosed, and a shunt was placed, which is very invasive. But if it's assisted living facility and a dementia or Alzheimer's diagnosis and losing of cognition and losing of abilities versus an invasive procedure that's literally brain surgery, but then it keeps the buildup of fluid from happening in the brain, so immediately after surgery they were back to their normal, that's a blessing, or being fortunate, or pick something, because that very easily could have been a misdiagnosis of, well, your mom had Alzheimer's or dementia, and I guess your dad did too. But his cognitive abilities were caused by a physical issue. And luckily it was caught. So if you're worried about those kind of things, maybe you really need to evaluate your headache, your level of headaches that you are having. If you've been a smoker for a long time and you have Medicare or Medicaid, and you've tried to get imaging done of your lungs and they're like, nope, you're just not old enough, but that you're having some issues with it, or you're a little worried because maybe you haven't been super honest about your history of things that you've done. It's like, my chest is really hurting. There you go. If you have something and it's teeny tiny and you end up with a lung nodule, then you know about it, and you can go through triaging it or checking it, and now, because it is known, you will more readily and easily be able to get additional imaging to see if it grows. You'll be able to get diagnostic capabilities, maybe a biopsy, rule out different things before that thing, grows in size and then metastasizes to other organs and then just takes you out. And like you finally go in because your life is so bad that, they're like, hey, I'm sorry, you're stage 3 or stage 4 cancer. And the same can be said with the abdominal stuff, where you're having pains, lower rib cage, gastro stuff. If they do that lower abdomen, as they typically will do, it's very rare that they'll do a full abdominal. It's more like upper abdominal or chest is how they term it, versus lower abdominal. Then you'll get a snapshot, or several snapshots, honestly, of your liver, your pancreas, your gallbladder, small intestines, large intestines, kidneys, adrenal glands, like things that you wouldn't even think about. And so maybe you have a couple of nodules on an adrenal gland. And because of those nodules, it's messing with your hormonal levels. And so it's making you really tired and really grumpy, or really anxiety ridden and really stressed out and like hyperactive. Like there's so many different things that can happen within the body that we will explain away and make excuses for with stress, life, family, work, job. Pick a thing. You're going to make an excuse for it. And then additionally, if you, not just with family history, but because like we're forgetting like the thyroid, so you can ask for a thyroid panel by also letting them know that you've been feeling really fatigued again for over 6 to 8 weeks, and that you'd really like a thyroid test, and that will also help you. And then I was actually able to learn some interesting stuff recently with helping someone with their medical venture, because their thyroid levels are really good, but they are really fatigued. And I think that maybe it was when we got the chest done, we found out that like their thyroid is a heterogeneous thyroid. And a heterogeneous thyroid is when it's abnormally shaped, and that plus or minus could also have like nodules on it. And so certain things, again, they don't manifest with an abundance of symptoms until they're really advanced. And so because blood work seemed fine, we weren't really worried about that area. But then when we got imaging done, we found out that like, no, the thyroid is supposed to be kind of butterfly shaped. It's abnormally shaped, and it's got a lot of different things. It could be cysts, could be nodules. There's one that's a little bit bigger on one side. So maybe, just maybe, even though the blood work is telling us that things are okay, let's get a biopsy done of that to make sure that that's not a cancer, because certain cancers are also way more aggressive than other ones. Certain cancers like take a really long time to progress, and they give you a few symptoms, and then because you've basically had this cancer brewing inside of you for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, by the time you find out about it, like, you're done. And that's incredibly unfortunate, which is why I'm advocating in this video, to advocate for your health care. Even if you feel like you're in perfect health, I would hate for someone to not want to inconvenience someone, being a doctor or an insurance company, by having them run tests or get imaging, and then it's like, I don't know what happened. I was, swimming every day, I was running every day, I was doing everything great, and the next thing you know, one day I'm just flat on a bed, and now I have stage 4, whatever, cancer. If you advocate for yourself a little bit, even if you're in perfect health, just to know what's going on with your body, then that's significantly better. And I know that like there is a double-edged sword where it's like, okay, well, we don't want to sit here and do tons and tons of imaging because of radiation or because of this or because of that. I'll take my chances with knowing that like at least every other year or every third year I'm getting checked out, so that like if I have a mass somewhere or a nodule somewhere, I know it's there, you know it's there, we know it's there, and we're going to repeat imaging in an appropriate amount of time to make sure that it doesn't develop friends. And if it looks a little suspicious, let's biopsy it. If it's supposed to be biopsied. If not, let's just resect it. Let's just get rid of it and not have to worry about it, because, like, until something that has really been messing with your overall health is taken care of or removed, you don't realize how bad it was making your body feel and how much damage it was causing to other things. Because just like that slow leak underneath your kitchen sink can affect the cabinet, so now it's, affecting your kitchen, clearly, because that's its primary location. But then it's affecting the subfloor, and then it's affecting the crawl space. And if you just let it keep going, then it's going to have mold going through. And then the mold is absorbing, and the moisture keeps building. And then pretty soon you have, like, most of, your kitchen, your living room, and your, half bath in the next area. Like, all of that subfloor has to be changed out. And you're just like, what happened? I don't understand. It was just a simple drip. It was a drip that you let drip for years. And now you're finally realizing that, like, preventative maintenance is such a big thing. And it's not in insurance company's best interest, unless, it's kind of debatable, but like free or like government healthcare, let's say that, like Medicare or Medicaid, things like that, they're designed to be reactive because we care as a society, because we either care because you don't have the best socioeconomic or just economic position in life, so we want you to feel like we're taking care of you to a certain extent with medical care, or you are over the age of 65, and so we care about you because you've worked your whole life, and now we're going to make sure that you have medical coverage. But we're going to be very limited with these two things, because at the end of the day, we don't want to pay for stuff, because nobody wants to just pay for everything. But here's a news flash that's kind of frustrating, is that if you take these two populists and you actually do enough preventative care to make it where maybe they're not having mental health issues because of physical health issues that are not being properly addressed, because if they're in an economic situation where they require subsidized or free health care, which, I have mixed opinions on, then maybe they don't know how to properly manage or navigate their health care. And so are they really getting better? Like, you're keeping them alive to a certain point, but like, what if it is that they have an adrenal issue and their adrenal glands have nodules, which is going to end up turning into cancer, which will eventually take them out. But in the interim, they're really tired, and they really would love to work on computers and love to, be an electrician, but because they don't have the stamina, because they're so fatigued and irritable and grumpy, maybe they end up becoming an incarcerated person because they blow up at the wrong time with someone, because they're so tired that, like, they're trying to go home, and like people are in the way, and they have social anxiety and all these other things. And it's that, like, basically they just feel like crap all the time, and they're trying to get back to their comfy space, and they just couldn't hold it in anymore because their level of pain or tired or whatever, pick a thing, negative thing, was so much that next thing you know, bad situation happens, they're incarcerated, now they are this terrible person for society and all this other stuff, and the cycle continues. And so now, taxpayers are having to pay for this incarcerated person, where it's like, if we properly manage that health and we made sure that this person was A-okay, then, like, maybe they would be an electrician, maybe they would be a computer tech person, maybe they would be a functional contributing member of society, because we as a society didn't just care about the things that, like, helped us get the funding, but we cared about really correcting the physical issues that were manifesting in so many mental health issues or social issues, because they were too embarrassed to talk about these things. Just saying. And the same can be said for the aging population that has availability for Medicare. And so, thank you so much, sir. I know you're 65. I know you've been told most of your life that you need to retire. But I also know that, like, you're a big workaholic, and you're 65, and you're still working a physical job. But it's becoming harder and more difficult for you to do it, because you actually have, like, nodules in all these different places in your body, and you actually have way too much of this hormone and way too little of this hormone. And like you have all these physical things and you're just thinking, oh, I've lived my life. I've lived a hard life. I've worked really hard. I've got to get out of the industry that I really still like doing. I really like the physical activity. I like the social aspect of it. Like that is my element, and I am gainfully employed, contributing to society, like leading my best life. But physically, I can't keep up because I'm old. And then you find out it's not because you're old. It's because you have some physical issues. And then because you're nervous of doctors, because you haven't been to doctors, because nobody's given a crap about making you go to doctors up until this point, because you've been such a big burly man that you haven't needed to do that, because only you and your body know that your shoulder is killing you, that your head is killing you, that you're having these issues. You might say something about them every now and then, but because you are the big, strong, manly man that you are, you're never going to tell anyone that you're tired. You're just going to turn into a grumpy bear. And the reason that you're tired is because you have physical issues going on with your body. So you have headaches. That doesn't make you less of a man. You have headaches. So those cognition issues that you may or may not be experiencing, that you're starting to worry about and think, man, if I can't think and I can't do my job and I can't do this and like my word usage is messed up, like am I going to have dementia? Did I mess myself up along the way? Sir, you have headaches. Go tell your doctor that you have headaches that started out of nowhere, presenting longer than 6 to 8 weeks. You are very concerned, and because you're a rough and tumble man that never wants to complain about any physical issues that are going on with you, get some imaging done. Get some imaging done. And then give it a little bit of time. If you've been, chimney, partaking in your analog smoky sticks, let your doctor know. My chest hurts. I want some imaging done. Like, I'm coughing up a lung over here. And then eventually let them know that, like, hey, this hurts. Because certain populace, because they don't complain, because they think they have to hold on to all this stuff internally, because people will think less of them, will get far worse than other populace because they don't want to complain, because it lowers their manly ability. And I don't care about any of the gender, sex stuff and all this other stuff. That is the nuts and bolts of it. It is. And whether you think it's wrong or someone else thinks it's wrong, I don't care. Because if you want to nitpick and complain about every single little teeny tiny thing going on with your body, that is up to you. You will be stereotyped as a hypochondriac or a person with a mixed bag of randomness. And then as you find your other little mixed bag randomness people, then maybe you won't get classified as a hypochondriac anymore because you just have that many issues. But if you were a female, then your health care is going to be completely different than if you're a male. And if you're a male that actually finally opens up their mouth about their problems, you may find that, it starts getting taken care of properly. But if you are worried that people will think, that your cognition abilities are impacted or it could mess with your job or whatever, you have headaches. You got something going on with your head? You got some headaches. And, and I know people are going to sharpshoot this video, and honestly, I don't care because I make so many random videos, it doesn't bother me at all. But I tried to properly manage my health care. Poorly, because I was in great shape. I mean, I had like teeny tiny small issues up until the point that I had my first child, and then boom, I was struggling, and I was going to the doctor as a very young person. I'm like, I am having debilitating headaches, I am having widespread pain, I am having this, I am having that, I am way too young to be having these issues. And pain pills is what they wanted to give me. And I didn't want the pain pills. I wanted corrective management. I was being told that maybe I was depressed, or maybe I was this, or maybe I was that. And it's like, no. These emotional things that you were trying to thrust upon me, they do not exist. I am having legitimate physical issues that are creating other issues. But because I was young and healthy and my blood work seemed fine, I did not receive appropriate medical care for years. And honestly, had it not been for the birth of my son and how difficult everything was with him during that pregnancy and almost dying, and then really having to learn right out the gate with a newborn that was trying to not remain here, that's when I started learning how the healthcare system worked. Because I went multiple different times, multiple different places to try to find out what was wrong with me, and either I was a hypochondriac, or they didn't know, or I was, mental health issues, because I was a woman. And I am very angry, and will continue to be very bitter and angry about it for a long, long time, because I am doing far better right now than at any other point, because now I know what I'm chasing. And so this is just an informational video for you guys. It's a lot of rambling, it's just what it is. But if it took me as a female, as someone that was trying but not really knowing, but still, pretty smart, to not get to where I was going, and then having to learn because of my son, how many other people are there like me? We worry about why everything is getting so bad in our society, and people want to say, oh, it's this person because of blah, blah, blah. Oh, it's this person because of blah, blah, blah. What if some people are having so many physical health issues, and it's trendy to have mental health issues, or to pick on people with mental health issues, that we're completely forgetting the fact that physical problems create emotional problems. And instead of prescribing tons and tons of prescriptions for people, why don't we start getting to the core issues? I know it's not as awesome, because if I'm an insurance company or a pharmaceutical company, and I can sell tons and tons of pills instead of fixing the actual primary cause for all of these things going on, that's far more profitable. So this is something that this is your responsibility to you or to your family members, to make the insurance companies and make the doctors take you seriously. The doctors are the gatekeepers of medical care, because they're the ones that can order the tests, and they're the ones that are supposed to navigate the system. They say that it's the insurance companies that are the gatekeepers for what will be covered and what will not be covered. So, do your part and let your doctor know that you have headaches. That way your doctor can let your insurance company know they have headaches. And if that doesn't work, your headaches are getting worse. You have to be the one, because this system is designed where the doctors, some, want to do preventative care, but have to argue with an insurance company about it. But you know what they don't have to argue that much about? Reactive care. Help your doctors help you with your reactive care. Make your insurance company help the doctors with your reactive care. Don't blame the doctors. Don't blame the insurance company. You need to do this for you. And if you have any problems with it, feel free to send me an email. My email's in my bio. Or, do a comment, whatever. I don't care if you're super crunchy or super conspiracy theoried. I'm kind of in the middle. And I will help whoever needs some help with navigating the system. But don't be surprised if I make a video, because right now I have a whole bunch of videos that I have to make. Because I've had a lot of real life requested videos, so I'm going to try to check them off. But I do also do request videos. There's a members page for that. And no, it's not just for fun stuff. If you need other stuff, I'll make you videos on this kind of stuff too. But if you need help with a DIY project. But this is a big DIY project for me right now, because someone that I care about, I am having to help navigate through their medical adventure. It just sounds cheesy to say journey. I don't know. Right now, so I keep saying medical adventure because yes, I want to be unique and special. But I am helping someone navigate the medical system begrudgingly. And I am tactfully assisting with preventative care in a very reactive way, because in this day and age, that's what is required. But if we all work together to help each other get to our best physical health, if we know what's going on with us, kudos to the people that are open complainers, but clearly that's not working for you very well, and it's really difficult, right? But if you're not one of those people that's been trying to advocate for yourself for a long, long time, And even if you are, like, be reactive. If you need something done, reactive stuff, ask for it. But let's all help each other to get into the best quality of life that we can, because we as a society will do far better if we don't have so many people that are on disability for mental health issues, if there's a physical contributor. And because honestly, let's be real about this, the more people that are taking from the system and not feeding into it, and this is not a political thing at all, but the more people that are having to survive off of systems that are in place by contributions from other people, the less people are contributing to our society as a whole. And if you're at home getting very minimal money because you're on disability, that is a depressing situation. Even if your basic needs are met, one, it removes the initiative to work because you're getting paid to exist, but it also creates a big bed of additional mental health issues and real mental health issues. Not saying that the other ones aren't real, but if you're a little bit depressed, but then you don't have funds to be able to do other things, you're going to become more depressed. It's going to make your condition a little bit worse and a little bit worse and a little bit worse. And that is something that will widespread, where if you help someone, my battery's dying, sorry.